You can't grow your economy in the dark. You can't build your economy in the dark. And darkness is not good for the growth of economy. So I think the way to look at it is that you can't industrialize in the dark, because you need power to underpin the industrial transformation that we are looking at. Now, first of all, I think you need to look at, in total, on the continent, I think that this is important. I say that we are trying to achieve Mission 300, provide electricity access to 300 million people by 2030. Today, the total number of people without access to electricity is 600 million people. And this is obviously evidenced by the fact that today in Africa, despite having 20% of the population and almost 20% of the landmass on the continent, of global landmass on the continent, you wouldn't believe this, that your energy demand is less than 6% of the global energy demand. Your electrification demand is less than 3% of global demand, which means that Africa has energy poverty. And I'll surprise you that the average energy consumption in an African home is less than what a fridge in the US consumes in a year. A fridge, not the whole family, a fridge. So I think what you find is that we expect that electricity is actually an enabler of economic performance. And you'll be able to commercialize activities, you'll be able to industrialize your economies, and of course, and in the process, you'll actually be able to uplift the social well-being of the community. Of course, you know that in today's day and age, even a lot of health services are provided through, they are provided through electronically. You know, sharing of records, you know, even some operations can actually almost be done by remotely through the internet and that kind of thing. So what you find is that the bottom line is that this will be able to improve the social welfare of the people of Africa. The journey will definitely not be simple. And I can say that because if you look at it, we've been talking about 600 million people without access to electricity for many years. Because although we've been making tentative improvements in increasing access, the population has also been growing. So what you are saying is that this is what I would say is a bold effort. And that's why it will not be easy. Because on the one hand, it means that the African Development Bank and the World Bank must be able to mobilize resources at an unprecedented scale for energy demand. Sorry, for providing energy. That's number one. And number two, we will also go out to other partners to be able to mobilize additional funding. And we all know that funding is not easy. We must look for funding from the private sector. But also, there must be reforms that will underpin this effort. Because we are saying is that it cannot be business as usual. If we have to be able to accelerate electricity access at the scale and at speed that we want, then it is important that there be radical reforms of the power sectors in the countries in order to be able to make it happen. But also, the commitment of countries is important because the countries themselves must commit resources. They must commit money for purposes of energy demand. So for example, if every year we make certain resources available, then it's up to the government to say, of these resources that have been made available by the World Bank, by the African Development Bank, we want to keep a certain proportion of the funding for purposes of energy access. Because without that government commitment, it will not be possible to be able to achieve the goal